Hi everyone, my name is Shrisha Bennett-Brody and I'm a licensed mental health counselor here at Flagler. Today we're going to be talking about conflict resolution. Conflict happens when you feel threatened in some way by someone. It's not just a disagreement. People tend to disagree over values, motivations, perceptions, ideas, or desires. Conflict festers when ignored, which causes more consequences in the long run. If you aren't comfortable with your own emotions, you will have difficulty resolving conflict. Conflicts are an opportunity for growth, and resolving conflict builds trust in relationships. Ultimately, it builds confidence to know that you can manage difficult things in your life. As an RA, you're in a unique position. You are a role model for your students, coworkers, parents. You can't do this, however, if you haven't paid attention to your own expression of feelings that go along with conflict, such as anger, aggression, and fear. Also, when we're stressed and practicing poor self-care, we don't have the inner resources to be healthy with others. Context is everything, but there are some unhelpful responses to conflict, which we all have probably engaged in at some point in our lives. This ranges from not being able to compromise, avoidance of conflict because we're expecting a bad outcome, and not being able to recognize and respond to what is important to the other person. We may also respond in explosive, angry, hurtful, and resentful ways, and we may even reject, shame, or abandon the other person. Helpful attitude towards conflict is to recognize and respond to other people's needs, especially if you do it in a calm, non-defensive, and respectful manner. It helps to be ready to forgive and forget and let go of the anger if the situation warrants it. It's also helpful to be willing to compromise and believe that facing conflict is best for both sides. One of the reasons for poor conflict resolution is not being aware of your stressors. We don't perform our best when we're stressed out. So think about the term hangry, combines hungry and angry. Think about how you probably act when you're hungry and how easy it can lead to anger. So not knowing your triggers can also make conflict more difficult than it needs to be. Are political conversations more difficult than talking about career goals, for example? Do you feel like you have the emotional resources to address the conflict in the present moment? If not, have the conversation when you do. And of course, having poor listening skills increases our chance of misunderstandings and even more problems. So first is to focus on the problem or the behavior, not the person. This means that personal attacks or degrading language like name calling, put downs, or swearing are out. Pause the conversation if this happens. Try to focus on one behavior or problem at a time. It's ridiculously easy to start with one issue like you never do the dishes, and then piling on more issues like, oh, on top of that, you ignored me at lunch last week. It's just not helpful addressing unrelated issues. Express your feelings with words and take responsibility for them. You can say things like, I feel angry. I feel hurt when you ignore my phone calls. I feel scared when you yell. These are good ways to express how you feel. Starting with I is a good technique to help you take responsibility for your own feelings. Take turns while talking. This can be challenging because we want to make our point, but taking turns is more respectful. Listen to the other person while they're speaking, not just waiting for your turn. Having effective listening skills increases our chance of hearing and understanding what the other person needs. Try to be as empathic as you can. Acknowledge the other person's feelings. Knowing that they're understood can reduce their hostility. Be assertive with a calm approach. Dealing with criticism. Now, this can be a tough one because no one likes to be criticized. One response to criticism is called fogging. This is where you accept that there might be some truth in the criticism. You can calmly acknowledge that you hear the criticism, but try not to get yourself trapped into feeling defensive or needing to explain yourself. Another way of dealing with criticism is negative assertion, and this is when you accept things that are due to your mistakes. You can agree with the criticism, although it doesn't mean that you have to own the entire accusation. People say never go to bed angry, but that is not very helpful. If things get too heated or unproductive, take a time out. Just make sure that you make it clear to the other person that you plan to revisit the issue when you feel ready to do so. Don't forget to seek support from your friends and peers before or after the conversation, especially if conflict is challenging for you. Reward yourself for engaging in difficult conversations. Thank you all, and I will leave you with this quote by Dorothy Thomas. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it.